Hi, everyone. Welcome again to the latest installment of The Way It Is. And I'm your host, Luke Andolfato with Remax Service First Realty. And today we are fortunate to have a guest with us, and his name is Muhammad Ahsan. And he is a change agent and a seasoned facilitator on challenging corporate and social development sector assignments. And he is Kingston's newly minted manager of equity, diversity, and inclusion. That was a position that was approved in February. Mohammed has 15 years experience as a human rights activist, a public speaker, and presenter, including 10 years of research, design, development, and implementation of training programs, workshop facilitation, post-secondary teaching, and adult education. He commenced his facilitation journey internationally in 2006, and since then, he has facilitated a wide variety of learning interventions and policy consulting assignments, such as diversity management, team building, leadership retreats, and conferences with numerous clients worldwide, including the U.S. State Department, the U.K. AID, European Union, Conference Board of Canada, British Council. He has a master's degree with double majors in human resource management and marketing. He also has certificates in training facilitation, strategic quality management, and adult education. And he is the first ever equity, diversity, and inclusion manager of the city of Kingston. So welcome, Mohammed.
Thank you very much, Luca. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And that's a very impressive brief bio that you sent. And I guess let's start basically at the beginning. Some basic questions. What is a change agent, and how did you get into this sphere of work, I guess?
Yeah, change agent is something that many of my peers chose to give me when I was working in my home country in Pakistan. And it was because I was always looking for opportunities to enhance performance and policies and procedures in the organizations, and as well as individually for myself. So that was one of the things that really helped me grow personally as well as professionally. And not just that, but I was also impacting others around me in my personal capacity. And that was definitely reflecting on my professional environment as well. So, yeah, that's how the label of change agent came.
Wow. Now, I read that you were in Winnipeg. Are you still in Winnipeg and working remotely, or have you physically moved to Kingston now?
I actually moved to Kingston this September.
Yeah. Great. How are you finding the lay of the land so far?
So far, so good. I am really grateful for better weather, for sure. Considering my siblings are posting pictures of tons of snowfall happening in Winnipeg these days. So I'm really grateful for that. And then definitely the kind of work I'm doing for City of Kingston that needs someone to be in the city to understand the ground realities. So that is also really important for me. So yeah, good weather and great people. Yeah, that's good. What Kingston is about for me now.
Well, good. That's great to hear. So I had also read that your inaugural meeting was in August with your board, I guess I'll say, or your council. How did that go?
So it's actually a committee that is appointed by City Council, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. It went really well. I was really inspired by the personal stories and experiences of the individuals who are representing the larger Kingston's community on this committee. And it went in a very nice direction, considering many of these members have never been part of any public office or public committee. So their interest to be part of this particular advisory group is mainly stems from their personal idea about how City of Kingston can be more equitable, diverse, and inclusive. So definitely that is the agenda. And then we already had a second meeting where we approved our work plan. There's some very exciting things happening within the corporation, because we need to work on some policies and procedures of the city of Kingston as employer. And then there are some really exciting things for the members of public at large, which you will see over the next 1 year.
Yeah, and so I mean, there's I just read through the names, but there was well, how we have here 1, 2, 3, 4. I won't read the names out. 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9, 10 names on this committee with you, and you said they were appointed by council. So how did that come to be? Did they? And I'm assuming they reflect different diversity groups within the community or within the city. Then.
Yes. Like any uh, a public appointment procedure, there is an open call for applications, and members of public apply for these positions through our city clerk office, and uh, these applications are mostly accepted year round. Uh, so anyone who's interested in any of the advisory committees or boards um, appointed by city council, they can go on our website and look for these opportunities. And then there's a nomination committee that reviews these applications and present their recommendations to city council, who finally get to vote on the members. And that process is being reviewed these days with the help of this EDI committee. So we will see a significant change in the procedure of making it more inclusive and easier over the period of time. Uh, but I must say that I was really motivated to see that it's a mix of uh, variety of community groups represented, from variety of age group to different ethnicities and gender identities and professionals and students. So it's a mix of true representation of what city of Kingston would look like.
So, and you touched on it there that you're going to start outlining some policies and procedures and things like that. But I guess at the heart of it, what is the mandate then for this group? I mean, and I say that because we're in Kingston, Ontario, a loyalist community born out of the roots of, I dare say, some severe conservatism. They've dealt with the issues and the historical. Aspects of Sir John A. Macdonald, who, of course, was a prominent figure in this community and the history of it. So, yeah, I mean, how do you feel about the role that you have to play and how much, I guess, impact you can have?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and thank you very much for asking me that. I think Canada in general is a very diverse society, and I'm sure about it. And diversity is integral for our growth in general. But when we look from Canadian perspective, we Canadians are proud of the fact that we are one of the most diverse countries in the world, and we take a lot of pride in it. And of course, Kingston is where all of that began. The House of Confederation, the place where this whole historic, beautiful, diverse country of Canada came into being. So definitely there is so much that can be done within uh, the space of Kingston. And yes, history has lots of challenging aspects, and like any other historic event, I'm sure Canadian history is mix of both good and bad. So when we look from the perspective of equity, diversity, and inclusion, the idea is to draw learnings from our past, good or bad, regardless of that. We cannot change what has happened in the past, but we can definitely decide our future course of action, learning from the good things and mistakes from our ancestors and our forefathers or fathers of confederation and many other people who have lived in this beautiful country. Uh, the goal that we are trying to achieve in the first year of this EDI office and committee is very internal, focused on City of Kingston as employer first, because we want to create a better climate and culture within the organization that uh, is true representative of the diverse community of Kingston. And that definitely requires more opportunities for recruitment and retention of diverse talent, and a lot of education and training, not just for our staff but also for our elected representatives. Uh, and definitely there's a strong aspects of policy reviews and the way city provides services to member of public. So these are major objectives that we want to achieve, and we are in process of reviewing some of these things, mostly with the help of this Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. And I am happy to say that unlike my some of my previous positions, I feel that City of Kingston on whole is ready for a major change. The staff and the leadership is very supportive of the change that we have been presenting through my office.
Well, I'm happy to hear that, and because for me, truthfully, and I mean, I've lived here my entire life, and I've worked here my entire life. I've raised my children here, and yet, it was on I mean, I'll embarrassingly say, I guess, or that I certainly don't follow the City of Kingston website daily or anything like that, or keep up on things that are happening sometimes. But I was surprised, and I mean, I found this article, and I believe it was on the City of Kingston through my social media feeds, and I saw the post about your appointment and the creation of this committee, and that had been the first I'd heard of it, which I thought was, I think it's a step in the right direction. There's no question. Obviously, Kingston's coming into the 21st century and beyond, but I mean, so obviously, speak to the initiative. Who started that initiative, and where did that come from in terms of city council or whatever that actually got, because that position was posted in. When did that position get posted for you to even respond to it, I guess, and whatnot?
Yeah. So the background of this is like in July of 2020, the council endorsed a recommendation to direct staff to establish the first City of Kingston Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. And then in February of 16th, the council again endorsed the terms of references and approved the funding to establish this position where what I'm working as Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Manager. And then there was a process of um, not just the recruitment of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Manager, but also the process of recruiting the members of this EDI committee. And on June 22nd of 2021, City Council appointed these members. And as you know, you just mentioned that on August 9th, they met for the first time. And I started on this position in July of 2021, remotely from Winnipeg initially, because the moving part and relocation had some initial challenges.
Yep.
Yeah, and like I must say that I saw a significant change ever since I moved, because now I'm able to connect better with the community members and also understand the perspective of people who are asking for change or asking for better services, because now I can see how they are located and what are some of the challenges for them.
Are you aware of any other municipalities in Ontario or in the country that have these similar types of committees, or is this wouldn't be a first, would it, in the province or in the country?
No, not exactly. There are several municipalities across Canada that have been doing. GTA has almost every municipality has something similar, if not a member of public's committee, but at least an office. Of course, Toronto and Ottawa are well known for their equity, diversity, and inclusion work. And so, like, if we look from Alberta's perspective, city of Calgary is a front runner, and then my previous home, city of Winnipeg, also have an equity, diversity, and inclusion committee that advise city council. But when we look from the perspective of Kingston and its surrounding, this is for a medium-sized municipality like Kingston. Like, we are one of the very few municipalities who are doing this, because previously it was always the larger cities and municipalities who have taken this task.
Yeah, and well, I mean, I would have to say that Kingston, apart from its sort of conservative roots, has enjoyed its diversity or growth of diversity over the years, both from different ethnicities and whatnot. Because of we're fortunate we have Queen's University, which has a large different cross section of people from different parts, different ethnicities. St. Lawrence College, RMC. And the hospital, and they hire, it's not just people from, our country that get hired or take positions there. So how, I guess, paint us a picture of what Kingston's diversity looks like right now, like a snapshot of it. Is it as diverse as we may think, or is it not as diverse as we may think?
So before commenting on the makeup of Kingston, we need to understand the basic principle of diversity, that it's not just related to what we are able to see, which is obvious of the racial diversity. Like, Kingston is diverse in many other areas as well. Especially, you just mentioned Queen's University and St. Lawrence College. So that attracts a lot of younger generation to come and study in our city. But then we have a very big number of aging population. So there is a age based diversity that is also there. And then there's a mix of gender identities that are reported through census of. And then there are many other aspects that I must say, like, towards LGBTQ community. So Kingston is diverse in many ways. Yes, there is room to diversify it more, to be further reflective of the municipalities Kingston is surrounded by. Like, of course, GTA and Ottawa are far more diverse. But here's the interesting part. Queen's and St. Lawrence College attract a large number of international students. Of course, Queen's University has a world established standing and reputation for that attracts international students from all over the world. So we do get some sort of temporary diversity for a while, but what's happening is we are not able to retain that talent to stay in Kingston. So eventually, once they graduate from the programs, they move to Toronto or other areas. While if we have probably better processes and procedures and services available for them, we might be able to retain them, and that will definitely play a very important role in the economic development of Kingston.
Yeah, no question about it. So I would, I mean, I would not be naive to think that, obviously, and I'm certainly not trying to paint the city of Kingston as an employer with a disparaging brush whatsoever. But we've seen the we've seen the systemic nature of racism play out, given the events of the Black Lives Matter movements and everything that's transpired over the last 12 to 24 months. You know, how do you tackle these systemic barriers that exist, I guess, within a bureaucratic corporation like the city of Kingston, or any municipality for that matter?
Well, the first step of tackling any of these systemic barriers is making the corporation or organization realize that these barriers exist. And lucky for me, that's something that was done even before my appointment. The council report that was presented by staff is specifically mentioned the word systemic racism in it. And that was one of the biggest motivation for me to apply for this position and accept this role, that I knew that the city council and city staff are well aware of the historic um, barriers and the problems that we have. And sometimes it's really hard. That is the hardest part. The bottleneck of the whole process is to making people realize that there's a problem that needs a solution. And then once people are aware of it and they are recognizing that there's a challenge, half of my job is already done. So the next half is introducing new processes with the help of other staff members. So definitely that's what we are doing these days, that we are looking at different segments of city offerings and services and procedures, and making recommendations. I still remember that when I joined and I first time met many of my peers, I asked them this question, that how many of you think equity, diversity, inclusion is my job? Or I should say it's just my job. And no one raised their hand. So, and then I said, like, how many of you think it's everyone's job? And everyone who was attending that meeting, their hand was up in the air. And that was the very truly defining moment for me to know that I'm working for a team who understand that while I can give them some direction, I can provide them some feedback, they are the one who are going to lead their own area towards more inclusive practices and procedures. And everyone from human resources to our finance, communication, transportation, they need to review their practices from an EDI lens that we are developing these days.
Well, and as small as it is, it's a subtle change. But even I noticed, corresponding with yourself and some of the other people through the city of Kingston, just the subtle change in the email signatures of adding pronouns, right, to the end of an email signature, which obviously never existed before. So
Yes, and I must say that I was expecting that I will experience some pushback on that, because, like, historically, EDI professionals across Canada have reported that. But like I said, and I'm not just trying to toot the horn of my employer, but that was the decision that we took in my first week in office, and to add not just pronouns to email signatures, but also ensuring that the land recognition is also a part of our email signatures to uh, ensure that people are getting aware. And then it's not just that, but there was a learning and education piece that went with the communication, so that staff is not just doing this because they're told to do it. And actually, we did not do that. It was like we recommended it, that uh, this is a recommended format. If you are comfortable using it, use it. And like within the first week, we saw this drastic change in everyone's signature, and lots of educational question came to me through direct staff members, and also through their supervisors and managers. One thing that I want to recognize here is that this idea of adding land recognition is not something that I came up with. It was already in process for through our Engage for Change, which is an initiative with our heritage department in partnership with our indigenous community members in Kingston and its surrounding communities. So the land recognition statement was derived with that consultation, and I was just the communicator of the process. That's all I did.
Yeah, no, and it's still an important and significant change. There's no question about it. And uh, I wrote a note down here, and I'll phrase it as a question, but I guess maybe more of a statement that you can comment on or not. Um, do you think that this type of committee now, or the creation of this, and the fact that this is now in the mainstream, and at least in the psyche of the city of Kingston and those that work there, do you think it will help those that, and there could be some already working in the city, within the city of Kingston, the employer, that is, or the corporation of the city of Kingston, that maybe have been afraid to identify themselves, and now maybe this will give them an opportunity to feel emboldened or more confident in coming forward, or wanting to identify with however they want to identify? Just throw that out there as a comment. So.
No, absolutely. You know, although some of these changes are very symbolic to begin with, because more substantial systemic change takes longer time. But we have seen instant results through these symbolic changes. Even we have seen more engagement from our staff already. I received numerous emails about different areas, like staff members from the entry level positions to even directors level ask questions to my office on issues around equity, diversity, and inclusion. So there is a sudden wave of acceptance that is very visible within the corporation. And I had this conversation with our Chief Administrative Officer, Lenny Hurdle, before accepting this role, that how much people are ready for the change. And she assured me that the staff is really excited about this creation of this role and this committee. And I am delighted that that's exactly how I felt ever since I joined City.
Oh, that's good. That's great. So I have to say that, and I think you've touched on it earlier too, but education has to play a very large role in facilitating these changes. And so in saying that, what mandates or what initiatives are in the works or plan to allow that to happen, I guess?
Yep. That's definitely a very good observation from you, Luca, that education and training is definitely vital for fostering a connected culture of equity, diversity, and inclusion, and ensuring that we cultivate a supportive, welcoming, and inclusive work environment, as well as the city and community. So, some of the objectives that we are targeting as our first ever work plan is increasing the city staff and elected officials' knowledge, understanding, and competency around topics of equity, diversity, and inclusion. And We are not, like, EDI office is not the only stakeholder in this process. Definitely our human resources and our heritage services, because of their strong connection with Engage for Change and our indigenous community partners. So we are partnering with these two departments to roll out these learning interventions and trainings, which are not just like there are some of the examples that I can give is we are working on unconscious bias training and inclusive language, and how microaggression works in workplace, and how to work with neurodiverse community groups, and towards LGBTQ awareness, and there's a lot more that this particular objective is targeting. And then also we are looking at creating EDI champions of managerial level and above in every department, and it's a pretty intense training program that we are designing with the help of our partner departments. So ensuring that we have at least one resource available in every department who may not be a subject matter expert on everything, but they will have resources on their fingertips so that they can provide the right answers at the right time whenever it's needed. Another thing that we are looking at for our education and learning is ensuring that our learning material is more accessible, because the reality is everyone has a different learning style, and if we only cater to one learning need, we might be missing on an opportunity to enhance learning experience for other learning needs. So we are one of the objectives that we are focusing on is increasing the accessibility of our learning material. So we are not just going to design and deliver these learning interventions, but also ensure that this is accessible to every learning need and style.
Okay, well, that's excellent. Now you've done a great job at defining and explaining diversity, and that was awesome, because I know people instinctually, I think, treat the word diversity as an ethnic sort of comment, I guess, description. And inclusion, I think, is self-explanatory. But speak to the first word of the committee, equity. Speak to what that involves, or how's that, where that, the issues lie, or what that means, I guess. So.
Yeah. Thank you once again. A very important and very critical question. I like sometimes people mix equity with equality, and I have to tell them that they are completely different things. Equity is the fair and respectful treatment of all people, and involves the creation of opportunities and reduction of disparities in opportunities and outcomes for diverse community. It acknowledges that these challenges are rooted in historical and contemporary injustice and disadvantages. Now, this is a more technical and more academic definition, but when I compare equality versus equity, I always give example of myself and my sibling. Now, I'm fairly big in my body size, and my sibling is fairly skinny. And if we both will go and go to a garment store to buy some fabric to have some shirts made, the equality principle will say we both should get equal amount of fabric. But that equal amount of fabric will not do justice to me, because, of course, I will end up with a shirt with probably no sleeves because I need more fabric. So the principle of equity talks about that giving resources, fair resources, to the people who need it more. So sometimes I might need more fabric, and that's fair, because the principle of equality is not going to serve my needs. So
Right.
I hope that explains.
No, that's a good analogy. Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate you sharing that, enlightening us with that, and sharing it, because I know, I'm not alone in the community or in the city of those that would just take these words at their sort of predetermined meanings, I guess, if you will. So, yeah. Well, listen, I think we'll end it there. I've kept you long enough, and I'm sure. Well, I'll ask you this though. This came to me earlier too, though. But so, is this your position as manager? I mean, I wouldn't think it stops 9 to 5. Not to say that they want you working around the clock, but I'm going to guess you would be responsible to attend certain events or certain functions or certain things. Yes, no? How does that play out? for you?
Yes, I am responsible to be present at several council and committee meetings, and uh, city council meetings usually happen in the evening. So unless it's a special meeting called during the day, because our councillors and our uh, this is a part-time position for them, so they work on their day jobs in the morning, so their availability is in the evening. So of course, as city staff, most of us are supposed to be present during that. But I must say that because it's a partnership with different departments, sometimes I have the opportunity to get away from that presence, because I know somebody else will be able to answer some of the questions council will ask. But definitely, EDI related positions are 24/7 job, because I need to be aware of what's happening in Kingston, and not just there, but what's happening around Kingston. And because of the faster exchange of information, it's important what's happening globally, because that impacts everyone here in Kingston too. So sometimes I'm reading about something in the middle of the night, because I know that next day it is going to impact some of the work that I will be doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. Mohammed, I want to thank you so much for your time. I want to wish you all the best in your new role. And just given what I've read about you and having this conversation, I think you'll be very successful. So I wish you all the best with that. So thank you for taking the time. And maybe what we'll do, I'll put it in my calendar. We should try to check in a year from now or whatnot, and just see where we're at in terms of a measuring stick and how we've improved. So that would be a good thing to try to catch back up on. So
absolutely, that would be great. Thank you very much for this opportunity, Luca. It's always an honor to talk to Kingston's residents and people who own Kingston emotionally as well as physically. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to connect with you and connect with your listeners.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right. You have a good rest of the day, Mohammed. You take care.
You too. Take care. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.